What's up, guys? Ben here, bringing you another video today. It is Tuesday morning. I think it's Tuesday. I don't know. Did we get to the point of the season where I don't remember what day of the week it is? But today's Tuesday. Yesterday, we got the full dump of team's player/team option decisions. So we're going to go ahead and review those. A couple of surprises, a couple of question marks we have as well. And I'm going to kind of lay the groundwork for what teams are looking forward towards as far as Rostermania for each one of their teams. Let's dive in. So this is Jacob Hale's sheet. We've used this before in some of our videos, but he updated with the player option stuff. So let's take a look. We're going to start with the top left-hand corner. We're going to go across and then down, across, blah, 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 blah. So let's start with FaZe. As you can see here, there is a couple of names missing. First off is Nick Classic, who I expect will probably get his sub option renewed, but I think more importantly for FaZe to figure out their fourth spot, because as you notice, Slasher is not listed here. They did not pick up the option on Austin. You know, I thought it was kind of 50-50 if he was going to come back. I don't think that they had a terrible season, but they obviously didn't win champs, so they are making a change, and I kind of, again, understand that. So looking to see if Atlanta FaZe is going to pick up a flex player, or are they going to pick up a sub player and move Simp to the flex? I think those are the two options. Picking up a main AR, I just don't think really cuts it for this team anymore. I think they need to move MC to more of a full-time AR role and get someone in a little bit quicker. And I think everything will fall in place with this team. So they're one of the first dominoes to fall. I expect some movement here this week, and we will see what happens. Now, a team that might be slower to burn is the Minnesota ROKKR. As you notice, there are no names listed here for the Minnesota ROKKR. That is because they announced yesterday that everybody did not have their options renewed. So they are starting fresh. Now, there are a lot of rumors around ROKKR merging with the organization G2. So we'll see if that happens. I don't know how fast his ROKKR team is going to form. They may resign some of their players like Bance and Cammy and Attach. I expect the Afro is probably 100% now coming back, but we will see. They're in a squad wipe situation, and they're gonna have to start fresh, and we'll see how fast they move once the first couple of dominoes fall in Rostermania. All right, next up we have Boston. I think a little bit of a surprise on what's listed here. So we just see Kremp and Beans on a 1+1. Snoopy not listed as far as option goes. A little bit unclear about his current contract status. Did he sign a new deal last season and they don't need to extend him? Is he a free agent? Not really sure. If anyone knows, please let me know in the comments or in the DMs. But as is reported yesterday when we did sort of our Boston season preview video, or off-season preview video rather, we talked about how Big Wake, Vivid, and Nero were also released. So for Boston, I expect a veteran AR to probably come in. I expect Snoopy to come back. It'd be crazy if they don't bring Snoopy back. Absolutely wild. They need some sub players on this roster. So look for Boston to be, I think, a team that moves pretty quickly this week. They have some money to spend. They've been pretty aggressive during these deadlines, and I expect them to have somewhat of a full team by this week or next, kind of trying to jumpstart teams like Seattle and ROKKR, who are going to be a little bit slower to make teams and really don't really have anyone on their roster. All right, next up we have the New York Subliners. So pretty much everybody is coming back. The only weird thing I think with New York, one is what Kismet's new deal will look like for the rotation. It looks like he was offered a new contract. And then I don't know what's going on with Preston. So he, I think, is currently a full free agent with the expectation that he's going to come back to New York. But I'm not really sure why they didn't just extend him. It doesn't really make a lot of sense to me unless they're forcing him to take a pay cut, which, okay, I don't know why you would do that with your team that just won. I mean, you're enabled to do it, but I just think that's bad for team chemistry, but okay. So a little bit unclear what's going on with Priest's situation. If anyone knows, let me know, but it seems like maybe they're just renegotiating his deal. I don't know. Seems like a weird one, but New York's going to probably be heading back as a full roster going into next season, running back what they did this season, winning champs. All right, we got the Florida Mutineers, or soon to be Miami Heretics, or whatever they're going to be called. The only player they kept over was Vickle. They even cleaned house on the coaching staff. So I think this is going to be a team starting over. We should get more clarity, I think, soon on sort of what Spanish players are going to join Vickle on this roster. I don't know how fast they're going to contract the team. They're going to have to move everybody over here. They're going to have to get them visas. So Florida might be a little bit of a slow situation, but the expectation is they will be a full Spanish team. I just don't know if they're going to bring over 4 new players, waiting to see if the rumored roster we saw back in like April is what they're actually going to stick with, or if they're going to go in a different, slightly different direction. All right, next up we have the Vegas Legion. As you can tell, nobody is listed here. They are full squad wiping, at least for now. It's possible they may re-sign a couple of these players, but Vegas is one of those teams that doesn't like to sign people during the offseason. They like to wait till the season starts so they can save money. Yeah, they're cheap. I know. We've talked about this before. But don't expect a lot of movement on the Vegas front until, I think, after the summer. We may hear rumors about some of the rosters or people are thinking about, but they always take months to decide. They are not in a rush to make a decision here, and don't expect major news, I think, the next couple weeks. I'd be surprised if we get any. So LAG, I don't think there's some surprises here, but not a lot. So Joe Deceives, Exceed getting released, not getting their options picked up makes sense. I'm a little surprised that they extended both Alec and Spart. Alec makes sense to me based on the contract and who might want to come. I would say Spart, though, doesn't really have a high stock right now, so I'm a little confused why they're extending him. Maybe it's really hard to get out of whatever deal they offered him. I still don't know. They love Spart. I don't know why he got a 3-year deal last year. That didn't make any sense. So the expectation around LAG is 1 and 2. Either Alec's going to recruit a bunch of people and they're going to build around him this season, or they're going to sell Alec and then he's going to go build elsewhere. That's sort of what I've heard about LAG. We will see kind of once FaZe and OpTic decide and things kind of cascade where this team kind of forms. I've heard a couple of potential different rosters that are okay if Alec stays on LAG, but I just think we'll need to see which actually materialize once the top teams commit and everybody kind of starts to make their decisions downward. I think we'll get some news on LAG either this week or next. I think they'll move pretty quick. So Seattle, also just like ROKKR, listed here and pretty much a squad wipe. I don't know if they're going to bring anyone back. I don't even know if they're going to bring the coaching staff back. And I'm curious to see how fast they move, what coach they get, if they're not bringing Sam back. It's a very blank slate situation, and I've not heard a lot about who their team might be. So we'll see if we get any news this week or next, but they may be slower once sort of the initial wave happens and they've kind of take their sweet time. The problem this year with that kind of strategy, though, is normally it's just like Vegas and London. They're not really competing over the same players. If like Vegas, Seattle, London, and like ROKKR are kind of taking their sweet time, it's going to be a little more difficult. So I'm curious what will happen this year. All right, we're on the bottom row now. We're going to start with LA Thieves. Squad wipe situation because all their players are free agent. By the way, I would love to know from the Thieves side if we can eventually find out why these players didn't get re-signed last season. Like, I don't know if they got contract offers, they all turned them down, or the organization just didn't offer them new deals. A bit of a weird situation. I just don't understand why you wouldn't just offer like a 5-10% raise 1+1, and maybe some players take it, some players don't. Very odd situation to me, to be honest. I don't quite get it. And because of that decision making, the team's probably going to break up now because they got dead last at champs. And it seems like Draza and Envoy are either going to FaZe or OpTic, and it's leaving Sam Octane and Kenny there alone. They tweeted yesterday, and by the time this video goes up about an announcement, I'm sure we'll cover that potentially in tomorrow's video. But I think Thieves will move pretty quickly here. I could see like Pred and Dante ending up here potentially if like Dylan and Draza go to FaZe and OpTic and there's not spots for both. These could get a pretty decent team as Rostermania, but it might be kind of a new squad that'll take some time to gel. So they're one of the teams I'm looking forward to seeing where the rumors land up later this week once things start to fall. All right, we got OpTic Texas. So a bit of a fun one. Shotzi obviously signed a new deal last year, so didn't really extend his option because I think he was on a 2+1. Rumor on the block was that Dashi signed a new deal at some point before the end of the season, and that's why he didn't get his option extended. He was already on a deal. And OpTic released Dan Ghosty and Hook. So they are looking for 2. A lot of rumors linked them with the LA Thieves players. Some people are talking behind the scenes that maybe Pred might be going here. If Scrappy's available, this would be a great landing spot. Waiting to see what OpTic does, but I think they have an idea of who they want. Just a question of them pulling the trigger on their targets and us hearing about their roster. They're going to be one of the first dominoes to fall. And I think for OpTic fans, whatever way they go, I think they're going to have another good team that they're just going to, it's the same thing with OpTic, man. They're going to have the talent there. It's about hitting the ground running, getting a good start. The last couple of years, 2 years ago, they got to a good start and then a bad ending. This year, they got to a bad start, good in the middle of the year, bad ending. Let's see if they can kind of keep that momentum start to finish. All right, London Royal Ravens, squad wipe. They do this every year. They don't pick up people's second year options. This team is going to take forever to make their roster. Forever. Do not expect to hear a lot of London news in the next couple of weeks. This thing will probably extend all the way till the end, if not past the end of the summer. They do not rush to make their teams. And yeah, don't expect a lot of movement on this. I'd be very surprised if we hear about a London roster like before the end of July. All right, last up is Toronto Ultra. So a bit of a weird situation going on in Toronto. So Hixie has been released. Bit of a surprise there. Thought that if they were kind of cost cutting or doing whatever, he might be a player to stay, but it sounds like they let him walk. Okay. CleanX, Scrappy, and Insight were extended. So it seems like they're trying to sell some or all of those players and see if there's a buyout market. I think Scrap's definitely got a market depending on his cost. I think CleanX probably as well. I'm not really sure about Insight, but I think a lot of players rate him. So I'm very curious if all these 3 players are going to stay on Toronto, if some of them are going to go. is a very fluid situation. It's hard to make a prediction because when I talk to people like at Toronto or around the Toronto camp, it's a very unstable situation right now as far as decision making goes. So keep your eye on this one. I think we'll get some news this week or next on it as far as what they're thinking. But I think Toronto's going to look completely differently next season. I'm very curious if it's going to be another top tier roster or they're going to commit to more of a rebuild situation, which would be disappointing considering they are your runners up from champs this year. I would hate to see this team break up over management putting their finger on the pulse instead of letting the team try and work its way out. So yeah, that is the list of like player team option stuff. Again, not a whole lot of surprises. We have a number of teams basically starting over because of free agency. We have like 4 of them, and I guess 5 we count Florida because kind of does. Everybody else is still kind of looking for 1 or 2 players. So I think the way the Rostermania will go down over the next like week and a half, OpTic and FaZe need to make their decisions. That's going to cascade to like a team like LA Thieves. And then I think like a team like Boston. Toronto's obviously tied in that as well. Some of those players may be going to some of the teams I just mentioned. And then they'll need to make a decision. And then that's when like the Minnesota, Seattle rosters, LAG will start to fall into place. And then everybody else. So should be an interesting kind of set of dominoes that fall over the next sort of week, 2 weeks. And there'll be a number of teams again that aren't going to really move this quickly. And you're not really going to hear about their teams in full or confirmed teams until probably like after Labor Day. So it should be a pretty... one of the more interesting Rostermanias we've had in recent memory, so I'm looking forward to seeing what happens. Let me know in the comments what you guys think of the video. Like if you enjoyed, subscribe for more. There is a supposed LA Thieves announcement happening today. It's probably, again, going to be out by the time this video is up tonight. So I will cover that in depth tomorrow. And as always, guys, we will see you on the next video.